Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Respect. More than anything else, what has been missing from Hollywood for the past decade is respect. Sure, the writing is rancid, executed by spoiled, talentless hacks who got where they are due to connections despite a glaring lack of talent. Casting has gotten so woke it's now mathematically determined ahead of time with formulae and ratios, and Hollywood has largely lost its cojones, opting to remake the same old garbage over and over again rather than give some new creatives and properties a shot. But ultimately, the worst sin of Hollywood these days has been the shift away from art and the catastrophic turn to propaganda. Star Wars, Doctor Who, Star Trek, countless television remakes and reboots, one and all have been sacrificed on the altar of wokeness. Hollywood decided back around 2015 that the way forward was to virtue signal wokeness, to jettison sound narrative principles in favor of inserting as much woke messaging as humanly possible, all in an attempt to gaslight audiences into accepting new values of wokeness, white guilt, and racism masquerading as diversity. Critical race theory was even more important to Hollywood than profit, it seems. Of course, that was before the dark times, before the beer bug. And that's what accelerated the process of bringing Hollywood to its knees. Now, with profits down across the board, with people skipping theatrical releases, staying home and going back in time to watch old pre-woke movies, Hollywood finds itself in deep trouble. And when you're in deep trouble, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! My friends, I have seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, and yea, verily, I say unto you, it is good. This was the movie that should have been filmed in 2016 instead of that humorless, tasteless exercise in franchise destruction laughably called Ghostbusters 2016. This movie clearly loves the Ghostbuster franchise, and Ghostbusters Afterlife is a love letter to fans that was postmarked in 1984 and only just now got delivered. I won't be indulging in spoilers here because it would be a crime to ruin anything at all about this early Christmas gift to Ghostbusters fans, but I will tell you that this movie is pretty much everything that fans could ask for. Just as Cobra Kai brought greatness back to the small screen, reviving a moribund franchise with sincere affection and respect, so too does Ghostbusters Afterlife give fans what they've wanted. A solid story told within canon, not only supporting canon, but revering it. The filmmakers here absolutely care about the legacy of Ghostbusters. They want to play in the sandbox, as opposed to filling the sandbox with oatmeal and gravel and pretending it's a sequel to the sand we loved. And as a result, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife may be one of the most important films of the new millennium. Why? It's a question of symmetry, folks. It's fitting. The Ghostbusters 2016 started the woke wave that splashed all across Hollywood and drowned their profits, and Ghostbusters Afterlife is the movie that may well be remembered for turning back the woke tide and restoring order to the cinematic galaxy. Bear with me as I make the case that this film is not only excellent, it is also an important milestone in the battle to save pop culture. So how is the movie simply as a movie? The story is excellent. A little slow at times, but it builds nicely, and by the end, if you have any love of Ghostbusters in your soul, you will be in tears, and more than glad you were patient through the slower parts and reached the promised land. The actors are uniformly excellent. The kids do a great job in this, and the breakouts include Phoebe and Podcast, along with a few other cameos that shall be nameless. The effects are great. The fun meter is pegged. It's a wonderful film in its own right, completely independent of Ghostbusters or nostalgia. Is it as good as the original Ghostbusters? Well, no. Sadly, there's no way that any cast, however talented, could compete with superstars like Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson. The original Ghostbusters was a perfect blend of horror and comedy, spine tinglers, and belly laughs. It rolled along like a roller coaster darting in and out of a monster funhouse while the Marx Brothers are projected on the side of the building. Ghostbusters Afterlife is a quieter tale than that. A tale of loss and redemption, of hurt and forgiveness, and of heroism in the face of skepticism and indifference. All these idiots in this town are completely unaware of the danger unearthed down in the mines of that small Midwestern town, and it takes a bunch of kids and one imaginative teacher, played by Paul Rudd, to try and save the world from an apocalypse. It's a solidly entertaining movie, magnified tenfold by how respectful it is to fans and the franchise. But the most significant thing about Ghostbusters Afterlife is how it serves as a model for Hollywood, a shining light that, if Hollywood can but follow it, will lead them out of the dim, dingy, profitless cavern of wokeness into a golden land of opportunity and profitability. Ghostbusters Afterlife does a number of very important things very well, folks. Number one, it's entertaining. While there are a few slow moments in the movie, overall the characters in it are genial, engaging, and they hold our interest. The plot makes sense, it progresses more or less logically, and it builds to the most satisfying conclusion of any Hollywood movie in years. The second thing it does well, it's sincere. It genuinely cares about telling a good story without undue wokeness or lecturing or indoctrination or politics. It cares about its customers, which is an amazing anomaly in Hollywood these days. Mostly modern Hollywood movies subscribe to the Humphrey Bogart school of customer satisfaction.
When you're slapped, you'll take it and like it.
Hollywood no longer seems to make movies for audiences. They make movies for their activist friends, for their own egos, and for virtue signaling points. Ghostbusters Afterlife is like an oasis in the desert because it simply wants to tell a great story the best way it can. Very much like Cobra Kai, a show that wears its love of the Karate Kid franchise on the sleeves of its gi. It's a genuinely fun movie, folks, but even more importantly, Ghostbusters Afterlife is sincere in its affection for Ghostbusters, in its determination to adhere to canon, to give fans a movie that is genuinely in keeping with the spirit of the original Ghostbusters and incorporates every bit of Ghostbusters lore in their movie. The proton packs, the ghost traps, Ecto-1, a new ghost reminiscent of our old pal Slimer named Muncher, and a number of other surprises that I won't spoil here, but let me tell you, this movie is a delight. A true breath of fresh air that felt a bit like I had gone back in time to watch it. Evocative of Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, and other 80s teen epics from that golden period of filmmaking, watching these kids rekindle the Ghostbusters flame was a rare privilege. The third thing it does supremely well, Ghostbusters Afterlife is full of love. You wouldn't think that love would matter in a film, but I'm not talking about love between characters, romance, anything like that. From the opening frames of the film where they play music we fell in love with back in 1984 when Ghostbusters was released, to the two post-credit scenes that you absolutely must stay in the theater for, or you won't really have seen the movie. This is a film that is filled with love for the Ghostbusters franchise, love for fans, love for the 80s, and love for the lost art of making great Hollywood movies. This film wears its heart on its sleeve without shame, in the same way that we loyal fans wear our love for genre films on our sleeves. Ghostbusters Afterlife is, in the immortal words of the great David Friedman, with it and for it. One of us, my friends, one of us. But these, as compelling as they are not the most important things about Ghostbusters. The fourth thing that Ghostbusters Afterlife accomplishes, perhaps most importantly of all, Ghostbusters Afterlife completely decanonizes, discards, and destroys Ghostbusters 2016. It is a repudiation of Ghostbusters 2016, the antithesis of that spectacularly awful bomb, that ground zero of cinematic wokeness. Ghostbusters 2016 was an entirely cynical and political exercise in cultural vandalism. Putting an all-female cast in as substitutes for the original Ghostbusters, and forcing Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson to humiliate and degrade themselves in cameos designed to discredit their past contributions to the very franchise they created. Even going so far as to have Bill Murray's character get killed like a punk, and then having Leslie Jones say, well, he wasn't really Ghostbusters material in the first place. See, this is how you kill a franchise. You take everything good about it, stand it up in front of a mirror warped with wokeness, and then smear it with shit. That's Ghostbusters 2016 in a nutshell. And in a move that infuriated woke wankers all around Twitter, Sony actually decided to step forward and right this wrong, actually repair the damage done by making it very clear in Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters 2016 never happened. Their substitute teacher, Paul Rudd, tells the kids who have stumbled across an original ghost trap from 1984 that following the incident in New York where Venkman, Spengler, Stantz, and Venomore saved the world, there have been no more ghost sightings. Which means that Ghostbusters 2016 never happened, because a mass haunting in New York with everyone dancing in sync and mass destruction would not have gone unnoticed. And these kids would certainly remember it as it would have happened in their short lifetimes. Just as my sources have been telling me there's a plan to erase the Disney sequel trilogy, so too does Ghostbusters Afterlife show us all how to handle garbage like this, decanonize it, discard it, actively repudiate it in the script, and never look back. This, more than anything else, is what Ghostbusters Afterlife will be most remembered for. Ghostbusters Afterlife brought respect back to Hollywood. Without respect, we reject, my friends. But with respect, we accept. And I accept the greatness of Ghostbusters Afterlife, a film that may well go down in history as the film that helped turn the tide in the battle to save pop culture. Guys, it is vital that you get out and see this film. Even if you go alone, buy 2 tickets if you can afford it. See it multiple times. Spread the word about how great this movie is. Buy the merchandise. Shout out the movie on social media. The existence of Ghostbusters Afterlife is something of a miracle, and it has the potential to send a huge message to Hollywood about respect for fans, respect for our modern myths, respect for the very concept of delivering an honest piece of entertainment for an honest dollar. Listen, I can't emphasize this enough. If we do not support great entertainment when it gets released, we deserve the garbage that we get. It's not enough to gripe about wokeness, gripe about the stupidity and bad writing, whine about remakes and reboots and cronyism and the death of imagination in Tinseltown. We've got to put our money where our mouths are. I often say we're winning the war against woke, even though it appears darkest before the dawn. Why do I say this? Look at the biggest movies lately. The most successful blockbusters are the ones that aren't woke. Justice League, the Snyder Cut, was a huge win for fans. Hollywood listened to us, that we wanted it, they made it happen, it was massively entertaining and not at all woke, and it succeeded at the box office. Same with Dune. Hell of a great movie with almost no wokeness in it, and now Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is not a woke movie, folks. Sure, the lead is Phoebe, a girl genius, but it's done very well. Phoebe is a genuine character, not a Mary Sue, and no men were put down in the making of this production. I loved Phoebe. She did a great job, so despite people grumbling about a female lead does not a woke movie make. Look at Ellen Ripley. Is Alien woke? Hell no. Ghostbusters Afterlife is a huge win for fans, and it can be a huge win for Hollywood, if only they'll get the message. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.